Hello, I'm Monica Pearson, and I'm here with Montlick Injury Attorneys who are proud to partner with Girls Inc. of Greater Atlanta and, of course, V103, the People Station, for our Fall into Wellness, a community celebration of mind, body, and family. This event is designed to meet a rising need in our community, supporting the overall well-being of children, teens, and families. Too many of our neighbors are facing stress, anxiety, and barriers to resources that could help them thrive. Fall into Wellness is an opportunity to come together as a community to make things better. We're going to use some tools here. We're going to have educational events and encouragement for healthier, happier lives. And by sponsoring this event, Montlick Injury Attorneys hopes to inspire families to adopt healthy coping strategies and to connect with valuable resources. And most importantly, remind youth that they are supported and valued. And my guests today, two very special women. We have, of course, Tiffany Collie Bailey. She is the CEO of Girls Incorporated of Greater Atlanta. You prefer Girls Inc. of Greater Atlanta.
Absolutely.
And then Melinda Jeffress, who is the marketing director for Montlick Injury Attorneys. So, Tiffany, for those who don't know what Girls Inc. is all about, tell us about the group and how it got started.
Girls Inc. of Greater Atlanta has been in the Greater Atlanta area for now almost 50 years. We'll celebrate our 50-year anniversary next year. And our mission has been the same since. It is to inspire all girls to be strong, smart, and bold. And we started our journey really back in 1974. It was about creating safe spaces for girls. And so in 1974, there was a young lady who didn't have a safe space. Her safe space was a laundromat. And one day in January, she didn't come home. And the community of Cobb County searched for her. And they found her body 2 weeks later as she had been brutally raped and murdered. And so it was the women of Cobb County who said that we will create a safe space for our girls. Because at the time, there was always a boys club in that community, but there wasn't a place for girls. And so they rallied, and it took 2 years. But in 1976, they were given land to create a space called the Girls Club of Cobb County, ironically, right next door to the Boys Club. And so if you fast forward just a couple of years, I like to say that the boys clubs, they figured out life. And they decided to take girls, but the girls clubs across the nation said, yeah, we'll pass. We want to remain autonomous. And so they became Girls Inc. across the nation, and we became Girls Inc. of Cobb County. And then just fast forward a few more years, as we really began to serve across the Greater Atlanta area, we then became Girls Inc. of Greater Atlanta. And so today, we serve in 13 counties. Right now, we have active programs in 7 counties. And in our history, we've served a little over 138,000 girls. And so that really rolls with our mission of how we inspire and why we inspire all girls to be strong, smart, and bold.
From age what to what?
Age 5 to 25. As I like to say, just because you turn 18 doesn't all of a sudden make you grown. That's when sometimes you need someone to walk it out with you and talk it out with you even more. And so we stay connected at the hip and supporting our girls as they become girls and become women.
So, Melinda, how did and why did Montlick Injury Attorneys become involved with Girls Inc.?
Well, you know, Monica, our mission has always been to help and protect families here in Georgia, to give back and to help families thrive. And our partnership with Girls Inc. is one of those where it helps us extend our vision and our synergy into helping protect families. Just as Tiffany said, it started a while back with a young girl losing her life. We see often families losing their children, unfortunately, in car accidents. But in this case, if we could do everything we can to help keep all of our children safe, that's what we're here to do.
So how did the idea of Fall into Wellness come about?
So Fall into Wellness was a partnership as we began to get connected to Montlick Injury Attorneys. And as we began to work with them through the Atlanta Women's Foundation, we began having conversations about what was the greatest need. And that was the first thing that Montlick asked, what are the needs of your families? And so what we have seen just a growing need for was in terms of mental health and mental health wellness, and what that means for our families. And so as we looked at the pandemic and came through the pandemic, we saw a growing rise in mental health, a growing rise in anxiousness amongst our girls, but also amongst our families. You know, as a family, you do the best that you can, but even a mom has stress, a dad has anxiety. And so how that trickles down and how that impacts the girls, that impacts the youth. And so as we begin to talk about, that need of being able to provide for mental health services, it really struck a chord with Montlick. And then they brought in other partners, such as V103. And with that, we created this amazing event that focuses on youth, but really focuses on celebrating families. And how do we help families become healthier in terms of their mental health and their physical needs?
So what can people expect, Melinda, when they come to this event on September 20th?
Oh my goodness, there's going to be so many activities and fun things. There's going to be areas where there's wellness, where fathers can go and get help, mothers can get help. There's going to be physical activities where kids can kind of get back to being kids. You know, often we're stuck on these cell phones.
Yes.
And then there's going to be areas for yoga and understand mindfulness tips and techniques. And really what we're excited about in partnering and engaging the community is with these wellness kits. We're going to be passing out wellness kits that kids can take home and extend everything that they've learned and bring it into their home when they're anxious and they may be depressed or down. There's going to be activities that we send home with them, from physical activities to journaling to help them kind of clear their mind. So all kinds of fun things will be going on. Food. So we're going to feed the family. We're going to help the families. And, we hope it's just a wonderful day for the community to come out, show families some love. And also, we're inviting, I don't want to get too far ahead, but we're actually going to invite the community to be able to purchase some of these gifts that are going in the wellness kits.
Well, I think that's a perfect time to talk about that, because let's remind everyone, September 20th in Marietta at
the Girls Inc. Center in Marietta, 461 Manjay Street. And so when you come, there'll be absolutely opportunities. So we'll send out information. We want you to register. So you can go to the Girls Inc. website, which is girlsinc.atl.org, and you can register there. You can also register to help us purchase items for the kids. And so when you click on that, you'll see Amazon wish list. And so things like stress balls, jump ropes. When's the last time you used a jump rope? But we want kids to get physically active, but we also want their mind to stay active and help them to develop healthy coping mechanisms and skills. Things like jacks and yoga balls and yoga cards, meditation, all of those healthy coping mechanisms that support our kids and their development and their growth, but also coloring books. We even got some adult coloring books in there as well, right? Sometimes we need to calm our minds as well. Great opportunity for families to come out. And so right there at our Marietta Center, at our campus, there'll be things going on outside and inside. And so whether it rains, snows, or does whatever, the event, it is a rain or shine event, and we're prepared to support and serve our families.
Well, what are you seeing in your young people? And you specifically work with young women, but I also want you to talk about the work that you provide for the entire family and why you had to open that up.
So we recognize that in order for, let's say, little Tiffany to be successful, she has an amazing future in front of her. And so Girls Inc. can spend all day and give all of our resources sewing into little Tiffany. But if we continue to send little Tiffany back to the same home environment that can sometimes need support, be sometimes dysfunctional, if we don't begin to take the time to impact the entire family, then we really do Tiffany a disservice, because mom has needs as well. Mom is working to get ahead and doing the best that she can, but she's struggling. And so her struggle then becomes Tiffany's struggle. And dad, he's got the world on his shoulders trying to prepare and provide for his family, but he feels like sometimes he's falling short. And so we wanted to make sure that mom and dad had the same type of resources that we were sewing into little Tiffany. And then there's not to mention little brother, because little brother is out there and he needs that same type of love and support. But what we're doing with little brother is we're teaching him to be an ally for his sister, to be an ally, grow up to be an ally for other women in the community. We're setting the foundation and we're setting the stage. But we recognize that it takes a village. And it is important for us to start today, because in order to empower little Tiffany, we have to empower the family. We have to make sure that there's wraparound resources so that the family unit is successful. If they thrive, she thrives.
How much does this sound like what Montlick Injury Attorneys does through its programs?
Yeah, it's interesting. When we were talking with Atlanta Women's Foundation, we said, we want to make an impact. What nonprofit partners do you have where we can come together and really bring the community together? We don't just want to write a check. We want to show up. We want to make impact. What can we do? And that's what Tiffany was alluding to. Is we're sitting down this meeting. We started off with, do we give backpacks? For beginning of school. Yeah. Do we give luggage to teenage girls who are going away to college and show up oftentimes with just their clothing in a trash bag? Yeah. There's so many needs to be met, Monica. There really are a lot of needs. But as we were sitting down talking and understanding the evolution of where we are as a society, understanding where we are mentally, it's just so important. We've evolved from, yes, we've given out bike helmets. Back in 1984, we were doing that. We still do wonderful programs like that, but we have to evolve with where our community is. And this is the need currently. So that's why we're like, okay, I think wellness is it.
Why do you think our children are more stressed out than what we were?
There are so many more things today that our children have access to, and it is meant to take them into, the next generation of technology. But I think that we haven't properly prepared them how to use that. So can you imagine in this world today, they are always on. There was a time when you left the house, the phone was at the house because it was connected to the wall and it didn't come with you. But now our kids, they have a location that's on 24/7 and they're sharing their location. It is always on. There's TikTok, there's IG. There's so many more pieces in terms of technology that connect them that are meant to be amazing things, but sometimes they also can become a hindrance. And I think for us as adults, we haven't done a great job in equipping them and preparing them how to use this technology, how this technology was meant to support them and grow our community and grow our world. But it really has become something that now technology is more owning them than we are in terms of owning it. And so with that being said, they have so much more work. School bullying, it happened in schools. Well, no, now it happens on cyber. It's on the internet. It is on Instagram. It is this message. They are so inundated with so many different things. And so I feel like the world never shuts off for them. And I can't imagine what that feels like. I love to turn my phone off. It kills them to turn their phone off because we've set them up for the failure. And it is our failure. It really is. And so what we find now is that we at Girls Inc. are really trying to do a better job with helping them to not allow social media, not allow the world to manage them, but how do I manage the world? How do I set the expectations, not let those things except for me? So we're working really hard to help them learn technology because we want them to grow. We want them to be the masters of it. And I think that's a big piece of it is that, the world has grown so fast and even equipping our parents to be able to support their kids. And I think that's a huge part too, because as a parent, you're trying to keep up with technology and AI and what does this mean? But yet I'm still trying to keep the lights on in the house and pay the bills and keep gas in the car. And so there are so many things as a parent that our parents have to deal with that, give them the phone. Just put the phone in front of them, put them in front of the TV so I can go and take care of them. And so what we're finding is that we have to reset. And the reset that we have to do is not only with our kids, but the reset is with our parents and giving them the tools of how to support and how for them to set the expectations of what technology is going to be in our house and what is not going to be in our house. And making sure that we set the stage of how we monitor it and what that looks like. And just setting realistic expectations, but starting them now or resetting them.
Well, one of the things I love is your motto, and that's strong, smart, and bold. So I'm going to start with you, Miss Melinda. What does that slogan mean to you, strong, smart, and bold?
Well, personally, to me as a woman, being strong is not just physical, but being strong is mental as well. Being able to be a foundation for my kids, set a standard for them. Smart, we were talking earlier, we did a radio show this morning, and I'm the first person in my family to graduate from college. My family, we were all entrepreneurs, but they were able to just kind of start businesses and not necessarily graduate from college. I think it's so important that we empower all of our children, what it's like to get that education. Without my education, without my work ethic and my drive, I would not be where I am. And so I think it's important that we help our children understand what smart is. And bold. I'm working on being bold. I'm coming into my boldness as I've gotten older. But I think bold is important. It's just being who you are, being authentic, not letting what anyone else thinks about you, what anyone else says about you. And I think that's really hard in today's society with children. We're talking about social media and TikTok, Snapchat. You know, our kids are always on. And I think they're always trying to be somebody else than who they really are. And so for me, bold means being proud in who you are and your skin and understand that authenticity is important.
So why did you all pick that slogan? Because it's pretty powerful, strong, smart, and bold.
So Girls Inc., we go back to the women's suffrage movement. And so Girls Inc. is a national organization. We have 75 affiliates across the nation, including Canada. And so that is a mission that started from the time that we were girls clubs that then transitioned into being Girls Incorporated across the nation. And so when we talk about being strong, smart, and bold, that really does focus on the curriculum and the programs that we provide. So when we talk about being strong, it means to be strong physically, mentally, and emotionally. So at Girls Inc. of Greater Atlanta, we have our wellness and family engagement department, and it has licensed clinical social workers that are on staff. It has wellness facilitators. It means that we engage our girls. If you come into our gym, it is not only an amazing, beautiful basketball court, but it also transitions into a volleyball court. It is about keeping our girls active physically, supporting them mentally, but also recognizing and helping them to understand their emotions, understanding what the emotions are, and being able to understand the coping mechanisms to support them. When it comes to being smart, SMART really focuses on science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. All of those pieces together are so important. We want our girls to be able to dive into careers such as STEAM and STEM careers, where women today are still often underrepresented and also underpaid. And so we want them to know that they can set the stage and go out there and own it and demand what they're worth. We also focus on academics and supporting them in their educational growth. We want them to know that they can do and be anything that they want, but they need that educational foundation. And that is really important. Before the pandemic, about 70% of our girls were reading below grade level. And when it came to the pandemic, it just exacerbated that space because you're in school, you're out of school. And so there was a time when we did homework help. No, we do tutoring. And when you look at our staff, they are teachers, certified licensed teachers. Many of them who are working with our girls during the school day, but then also rotate into our after school programs to support them. And so it really creates a comfort zone for our girls because I know Miss Tiffany, I see her during the day, I see her in the afternoon, and then I also see her in my community. So it gives her a trusted figure. And then when it comes to being bold, bold is my favorite. Bold is everything that it sounds like. It is I am my brothers, my sisters, and my community's keeper. It is about teaching our girls how to advocate first for themselves, right? To be able to fight for what they deserve, know their worth, and then I like to say add tax to it. It is about economic empowerment, college and career readiness, life skills. It is about getting them ready to be our future leaders. Because if we don't take the time to sow into them today, then what future do we have tomorrow? So strong, smart, bold is a powerful statement. It's not just something cute to say. It is how we deliver programs. It is how we build up our girls and our families to be strong, smart, and bold. This is a family unit piece. This is a mission for the entire family that we're going to develop the next future leaders with.
So how can the community itself become involved to help the way Montlick became involved? What do you need?
What don't we need? What we need, especially right now, there are some challenging times that are facing many nonprofit organizations, not just Girls Inc. And so as we find ourselves in this new political environment and this new challenging economics, we need more support from individuals who have a care to see our youth succeed, individuals who have a care to see girls succeed and want to see them become the strong, amazing women that ultimately, there's a slogan that says, when you educate a woman, you educate a nation. And I believe that wholeheartedly. And so we serve about 3,000 girls a year. And as we add our families onto it and even some of our after school programs that have boys in it, because as a mom who has multiple children and she has a son, and there's this wonderful Girls Inc. program, what am I going to do with my son? And we say, bring them on. We welcome them. Because not only do we support her in providing pro-girl programs and experiences, but we also support him in bringing in other male-serving organizations who are empowering him as well, creating that allyship. So when I say what we need, I need time, talents, treasures. And that's how I boil it down. I need, if you have time to come in and support and volunteer and work with our students, we need that. They need to see the amazing community members that serve them. I want my youth to know that they too can one day be a Monica. I want them to one day know that they can too be a Melinda, but they need to see you. They need to know that you exist out there. I need your talents. This community is multi-talented. There are so many different opportunities and so many different ways that you can give back in terms of your talents. We're a small organization. I only have about 50 employees that are serving about 3,000 kids a year, and that takes a village to do, and we don't do it by ourselves. But knowing that you have a talent as someone who does accounting, I need that on my finance committee. Knowing that you have a talent in marketing, we need that support to get the message out there about Girls Inc. And then when it comes to treasures, we still have to keep the lights on. We still have to pay our staff and make sure that they too can earn a living to take care of their families. And so we do need the treasures that come in from an individual perspective, from a corporate perspective, from a foundation perspective. But it takes all three, the time, the talents, and the treasures that really go around to ensure that we can continue to inspire all girls and youth to be strong, smart, and bold.
Well, not only is Montlick Injury Attorneys partnering with Girls Inc. of Greater Atlanta, V103, the People Station, is very involved in this. Radio plays a big part in teenagers' lives. So how does the partnership with them help you in getting the word out?
So when you think about a partnership with V103, because our girls, our youth, our families love V103 when they are truly the people station. And so being able to share the message of Girls Inc. Through a platform like V103, that you have so many listeners and they're hearing for the perspective of, that's a service that I need. I didn't know Girls Inc. existed. I've been looking for a program to put my daughter in. I've been looking for services because Girls Inc. does provide mental health services and therapeutic services for families. You've been looking for that. And knowing that through V103, we can get that messaging out, but also knowing that there is an individual out there who's been wanting to get connected and do more with an organization. We've been around for 50 years. The proof is in the pudding. We do good work, and we've been doing it for a while now. We had a luncheon a couple of weeks ago, and I saw women who now their great granddaughters are a part of our program. And that's huge. To see them come back in a building that they grew up in, and now they are in their 60s and they're in their 70s, that's amazing to me. But they came back and they're supporting and they're sending their girls and their granddaughters and their great-granddaughters to our program. And so being able to get this message out is to let you know that we're here. We've been here and we're going to continue to be here. And we want you to know that we're a resource, but we can't get that message out without partners like V103, through partnerships like Montlick. They make that possible. They made the connection. And now we are truly able to extend our village to let folks know that we're here, but also welcome them into the fold of the village.
You just talked about the proof of the pudding, that you've actually had people come back and participate who went through the program. So that's kind of proof positive. But Melinda, when you look at this, where can you see that Montlick can say, this is what we did and this is how things changed?
You know, it's interesting because I was just thinking when we were originally talking about this collaboration, this partnership, it was all about the radio station being the people station. The people station. And we were talking about, let's make an impact. So for us at Montlick, it was, we have the ability to bring in nonprofits to let them tell their story. And I think that is the most important thing that we can do as a corporate responsibility, is to shed light on all the goodness that's going on and how can we empower our community to step up. We do it all day long as a law firm. We're always out there in the community doing things. But programs like this, radio stations like V103, allow us to be even bigger. We can all do it alone, but when we come together as a community, we really believe we have the power to transform lives. And so by partnering with V103, partnering with Girls Inc., and Monica, you too, by coming in and joining us and helping us raise awareness. I think so often people don't get involved because they don't know. And we don't know what we don't know. So by listening to Tiffany and understanding the needs, understanding what's really going on in the underserved community, that's important stuff. So if we can come together and get the word out, we're doing our jobs.
With the economy the way it is right now, and then we're seeing the political climate also change. Give us a view, Tiffany, of your, quote, average client.
So when we look at who we're serving at Girls Inc., I would tell you right now about 74% of who we serve are families who have incomes that are at or below the federal poverty guideline. We have about 60% of our girls that are coming from single parent households that are typically led by mom. Right now, our stats are showing that about 91% of who we serve are girls of color. And so as we're going into communities that tend to be under-resourced, underserved, we also see that with the political climate and the economical climate, access to certain resources that were already tight have become even more competitive and in some instances more limited. And so when I think about mental health specifically, mental health was always something, especially here in Georgia, that there was always a decreased access to.
You were giving figures about where Georgia stands.
So Georgia ranks 47th in terms of access to professional care within mental health access. And so when you really look at that, there are 153 counties out of 159 counties in Georgia that are considered a mental health shortage professional area. So for instance, there are 78 counties in Georgia that do not have licensed psychologists. There are about 53 counties in Georgia that don't have licensed social workers. And there are 48 counties in Georgia that don't have a licensed social worker or psychologist. And so when you look at our families and especially our youth who are in need, what statistics show is that for a young person who is considered living in poverty, they are 2 to 3 times more likely to develop a mental health condition. So as we begin to really take in all those numbers and understand programs like Girls Inc. that provide free mental health support and services to family, we serve in 13 counties across Georgia. And some of those counties are the counties that were mentioned that don't have a licensed psychologist, that don't have a licensed social worker. We are helping to fill the gap. And even more so, we take it one step further because we want to help to develop and build the next generation of social workers, of psychologists. And we're doing it from the girls that we serve. We're not just providing services to them, but we're providing careers and having those conversations about why it's important. And they see it themselves. This summer, we did a Project Accelerate externship program with our high school students. And out of the 30 girls that participated in that program, 15 of them wanted to go into some sort of mental health because they themselves had experienced depression. They themselves had experienced anxiety, and they themselves had experienced not knowing where to go or how to talk about it. And so once we saw that, we decided that we were going to develop a program, the Teen Mental Health First Aid Program, to get our kids engaged in their own mental health, but also getting engaged in having conversations with their peers and being able to care for their peers. We want to start conversations. And so what I think Girls Inc. is good about is that when we see a need, we step up to meet the need. And it sometimes starts with our girls. It starts with our teens, and that, within us, we have everything that we need. I was born with everything that I needed, and sometimes I just need someone to help bring it out of me. And so that's what we do with our girls. They are so self-sufficient. They are so resilient, but they just need a guide to support them and to encourage them and let them know that they are enough. They're absolutely enough.
So my last question to both of you. Melinda, the importance of Girls Inc. and the fall into wellness. And then from you, Tiffany, the importance for you of seeing them involved in Girls Inc.
Well, I think it's important, the involvement is for our community to understand that they're not alone, to understand that there's a place, an event where they can come and get the resources, to know that there's organizations that care about them, that our teens understand that there are people who care about them investing in their future, to know that there are resources available for mind, body, and wellness as a whole. I also think it's important that the community understands that it's not just about our youth, but we also care about the parents. So if we can come in together and provide an event that embodies everything for the whole family, then we are doing a wonderful thing.
And when you have partners like Montlick and partners like V103, it sets the stage for what community should be. It sets the stage of we are our brothers and sisters keeper. It also sets the stage for encouraging more partners to come in. There are many wonderful nonprofit organizations out there, like Girls Inc., that need this type of support. But I think having V103 and Montlick, it sets the stage of how we should care for our community. And it is our responsibility to do this and to do more. But as a nonprofit, we can't do it without these type of partnerships. And to know that, through a connection with the Atlanta Women's Foundation, to Montlick, and then a connection to V103, and then a connection to you, Monica, it means the world, not just for Girls Inc., but it means the world for the families and the girls that we serve as we do our best to inspire all girls and boys to be strong, smart, and bold.
And on that, ladies, we will end. Thank you, Tiffany, and thank you, Melinda.
Thanks, Monica.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Sure. All right. Then we will do that. Where to go to donate? Okay. Okay. So we will. Do you have both? Do you know both of those websites?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. So I'll continue. If people want to get involved on September 20th, but we want them involved before September 20th because you have certain needs. So, Tiffany, how can they contribute?
So you can go to v-103.com website. You can also go to girlsincatl.org website. On both websites, they will take you to how you can donate through our Amazon wish list. You can learn more about Girls Inc., and you can learn more about the partnership with V103, Girls Inc., and Montlick. And so that would be v-103.com as well as girlsincatl.org.
So what are the items needed when you go to the website on Amazon? What are the kinds of things you can buy?
So there are so neat things. So journals, right? We want our girls and our youth to be able to, take time to contemplate their thoughts and write it down. So you have journals on there. There are jump ropes on there. Because again, we want you to get up and get moving. There are things like yoga balls or stress balls where they can, play. I think there's fidgets on there. My staff put a little bit of everything on there. I think they were big kids on like a Christmas shopping list. As they were, there are yoga cards that help our kids navigate through yoga when they're doing it at home by themselves. There are meditation. I think there's even a paint set on there that they put on there. So we're talking about art therapy because there'll also be art therapy going on that day at the event. And so everything was to keep in mind of how to either be physically active or how to meditate and motivate your mind and help with those coping mechanisms.